All right. Okay, so we are going to go over the practice project.
Okay.
So if people watch this later and they haven't done that yet, wait to watch until after they've done it. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay, so I have your practice project here, and then I'm actually going to open up. Here are the instructions. I'm going to open up the folder for the, here we go, the files. One thing that we are trying to do is we will try to make a better, like an easier way to do this. And so that's like the next on our to-do list is potentially to try to make it like, I think if we made it like a Google form and like you had the images and then you could select like almost like a drop down or like a free text and like what's wrong with this document, it might be a little bit easier to like grade and go through. And it would be cool if we could do that, so you could almost like get instant results. Like you could do it and then you could get like feedback, like you like click send, but then the Google could read against the key and then say like, okay, you missed this or this, you know?
I mean, that's fancy, Hillary.
Yeah, well, I have big dreams here. Because it is like, for example, my key that I have, it's not in the right order, right? Because as you go through, you're gonna put the documents in whatever
Oh,
order, right? And so I was like
yeah.
trying to like create it, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. And so it's better if we just kind of go through it.
Okay.
So let's take a look. So overall, you did a great job. The first thing that a lot of people don't quite get is like how to fill out the form, and you did it perfectly, right? So you put the document name, the title, you want to put the document date, like the actual zones, because that in general is kind of confusing to people. And then you want to have the artifact number. So overall, like that alone was really good. So you kind of got the gist of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And so yeah, so let's go through kind of the ones that you have flagged and kind of make sure that they're correct. Before we jump in, I want to see what were your thoughts on it? How did you feel about doing the practice project?
Like I said before, I wasn't sure, for instance, in like the QC finding type and the finding comments, um, like some of the examples, when you click on the link in the reference model, it like might have said, oh, it should have a signature here and just had a little box on the example. But on the actual paper that I pulled up on the Bruno site, there wasn't a line for a signature. So I just erred on this or cautioned on the side of error, or anyway, I don't know the
Yeah, no,
words
you
right
got
now.
it.
But I was just overly critical, I guess, was my view. And I think that I was overly critical, but I intentionally did that so that I could get feedback and remember, well, was this really a missing signature just because the reference model said that it should have one on every page or whatever, that type of thing.
That's a really good point. And so um that's great. So that touches on multiple points. So in general, the document examples we have are just examples, right? So
Right.
some of them, like the 1572, that's like an FDA form, and that will always look the same. Almost all of the other documents will look different because it's each company's interpretation of how like the document should be done. So only the 1572 is like an official document that's like every US study should complete.
Hmm.
All the other ones are going to look a little wonky, and so that's good because a lot of times people get confused because they're like, oh, this doesn't look exactly what I thought, like what I was shown.
Yeah.
It's because each company does it differently, and that's a good point in terms of when you start at a new company, like things will look a little different because it's however the company is doing their documents. But the overall gist is the same in the sense of if there's a missing signature line, there should be a signature, right? But
Right.
if the document doesn't have a signature line, then it's usually not needed. And
For
that's kind of the
instance,
mhm.
like their resumes. on the example in the TMF file, it said, or reference model, it said that it should have like a signed signature and a date.
Mhm.
But on the actual resumes, of course, there's not a spot for that.
Yeah, so a lot of times on the resumes, people will just kind of initial and sign like
Mm-hmm.
each page, but that's actually like an old practice. That's kind of like going out of fashion now,
Okay.
where that's like it's no longer really required. So that's even something that I'll touch base with Keith on because he's the one kind of still doing this as his day-to-day work, and um I feel like it's no longer actually required.
Okay.
So it's basically moving forward, just yeah, if there's also even collecting the CVs is um is something that people are like, well, I don't know if we really need to do it. It was kind of a way to prove that people were qualified, but um it's not like really super required. People were making it as though it was required. So it's kind of again up to like the company's discretion. Sorry, I'm gonna like stop to have tea every once
Hey,
in
do
a
your
while.
thing.
But I think it's an interesting aspect because this model, the reference model that we have in front of us, or I have it here, I think, yeah. The reference model is just like on the DIA website. It's a standard that most companies use, but you don't actually have to use it. It's not an FDA requirement. You can make up your own filing structure.
Right.
It's just easier, and that's why the DAA is like almost like a nonprofit group that came up with theirs, and we're like, hey guys, let's make this organized and easier if we all kind of standardize it. And so yeah, so it's like it's interesting because when people start a new job and they're like, what? It's like not exactly the same. Where they say they're doing the DIA, but it's not. Companies have the right to have their own discretion in terms of what items they want to do. Now, it's nice now that Viva is mapping it to the DIA. So that encourages companies to stick to the DIA and only tweak things if they really feel strongly about it. Most companies will just go with what Viva says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
Let's
yeah, I
jump in.
want your feedback on what I did.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go in and look. Okay, so the first thing I thought was you have the first thing that kind of caught my eye was on the 1572 you said missing financial disclosure form. Um so usually if were you referring to the 1572 on this or
So
what were your thoughts?
on on the reference model, it said that associated with this form, all of the sub PIs and PIs should have
Mhm.
financial disclosure forms. And then I saw that there wasn't one for one of the individuals. For Taylor Smith, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, and then I think you put IS, so it should be
Sub
yeah,
investigator.
sub I, yeah,
Sub I.
yeah, usually but again, very small, just so people know what you're
Right. No,
looking at.
that's fair.
So usually what you would do, just so you know, is you would add a separate line, um, and then you would say missing document, for you put this on its own line because in a sense the 1572 is fine, let's say. Let's see, did we say inspection ready? Let me just do.
Okay, so that wouldn't be like an incomplete bundle
Yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, can I clear this?
And again, I was very critical.
No, no, that's good. It's almost like way better to get something and people have a whole bunch of stuff on it than like something and they're like, it's fine. You're like, okay, it's not all
Hmm.
fine, That's why originally we were like, okay, we have to yeah, so I'm looking at my key and yeah, we do have sub I T Smith missing financial disclosure. So you got that. So that's really good. And you filled out this correctly. This is really nice. You put your name in there and the date. But overall, did you feel like this work was like, how did you feel about like doing the work? Is there something that you'd want to do on like a day-to-day basis? Or what were your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
so I did find myself, and I mentioned this before, like there was a flow. And if it doesn't have to be as scrutinized as I did do it, then it would be even easier than what I imagined. Going through the process, it would be easier than what I did. I could see that the hard part would be the repetition for long, long, long periods of time. But if I have like music on,
Mhm.
I'm always known for being able to just grind through stuff because I'm getting the sense of joy out of that, and then the sense of like accomplishment out of just getting work done. So I know that it was something that would work for me. And then I do my own thing on the side with like stocks and stuff, and that would be intellectually challenging. So
Yeah.
I would get all the satisfactions that I might want.
That's exactly what Keith, so Keith is really into stocks too, and I am too. So we'd love to pick
Right.
your brain on that too. Um, but that's why Keith has it set up. Like he has his monitor with the stocks going, and then
Okay.
yeah, and he'll like put on music or in the evenings. Like sometimes what we do is, and when I used to do this is if you're just QCing documents, which is what this is, right? You're just like looking at the documents and trying to flag them, especially if you're not even doing the completeness review, which is what this is a practice project of. If you're just reviewing the documents in the system, it is kind of like an easy thing to do. And so like he'll put on a movie, like something that he like doesn't quite have to watch, but something in the
Yeah.
background,
Yeah.
and he'll go through it. And that's how I got into this and how I really think it's a great profession, especially for women. Is I would do that with my son. Like he would like we'd be at a park or something, we'd be like playing, and I like it wouldn't be as productive, right? But like something you can kind of do with stuff in the background.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I like to hear that, Hillary.
yeah,
Honestly, that's great.
yeah. No, and that makes it a much enjoyable. Like I do really like how flexible it is in the sense that usually you get like a bulk of documents that you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be available right during business hours and whatnot. But in general, like you can grind through stuff in the evenings and go through the documents. Yeah, like have music on or just kind of chill and do it. So it's usually even easier than this in the sense that you don't have to like type as much stuff, right?
Okay.
That's like what people's biggest complaints for this one is all the typing.
Oh,
Usually you
well,
don't.
I was studying some coding before
Okay,
this,
good.
like thinking, is that a path I'm gonna go? You know, so we'll see. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was easier than all the dashes and dots and yeah.
Yeah, no, this is good. So yeah, no, that sounds good. So let's take a look at maybe let's see this one. Financial disclosure form, missing signature. Okay, so Thomas Wilson. Let me see what we have. I think I'm just sticking my key in. Okay, we're looking at financial disclosure form. Missing true false statement. Okay, let's pull it up. All right. And hopefully, I wonder if we can Wilson. Okay, that wasn't as easy as I was hoping. Okay, so it was a financial disclosure form. Wilson. Okay, the third, yeah. So is that what you were trying to flag? Let's see what you
Yeah, that box true or false was not marked.
Yep, missing 3. Okay, and then you said signature 2. Let's look.
So that in my financial world would not count as a signature.
Yeah.
So, and same thing with like if someone writes their first initial and then their last name as a signature, that also wouldn't fly in the financial world with SEC rules. So that's why I marked those so I could ask you, is this
Yeah,
okay?
that's a great question. It kind of is up to the company to like what they want to do.
Okay.
Usually in this case, because it's just something that any sort of scribble flies. Even if sometimes it's only if sometimes you can notice that somebody's consistently doing a certain scribble and then
Right.
another one is like it's like because that happens where the PI or sorry this yeah so the main principal investigator a lot of times this is less common it's more like in my day of this but they don't want to do everything and so they'll make somebody else sign stuff for them
Yeah.
and you do want to catch that if you can it's not like super your responsibility but if you notice something's funky or it's like this guy's like writing like red ink or something like that and then the sub coordinator has like blue ink and then his signature's in blue ink and it looks really not the same then it might be like this that's just almost an alert that the you might have a main head doctor who's not that involved
Mm-hmm.
he's like but
Okay. And that's
document wise
fair.
yeah
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine if that's okay. I just want to make sure. Because
No,
that
that's
would be
perfect.
like a nickname would not be allowed to be a
Yeah.
signature. It'd have to be a full written name to open brokerage accounts.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. And I used to be a bank teller, and
Okay.
so I know at least the rules that we had. But yeah, no, I think it's really good, and I think we do want to on your resume really highlight like you have, because a lot of the TMF skills are skills that are in a lot of different careers, right? Like any sort of financials or just like, QCing and watching for things and um, certain things that we can tie back to your resume where you might not have the exact experience as much in the
Mm-hmm.
exact same title, but you have the same kind of job that you've been doing, right? So using your past experiencing it and tying it into what you want to go into. Yeah, so this is
Great.
great. So you did a great job catching this. Not everyone looks that detailed, and yep, and the signature in this case will be fine, but I agree with you, it's not great.
Oh,
Um,
I'm okay with it if they're
yeah,
okay with it. I just wanted to know.
yeah. If you were, so another role is the monitor role, who's the one who kind of collects these forms, and they're the one that would say, "Hey, this is missing. I need you to redo this." And then you could say, "Hey, I want you to sign this as keep your signature consistent." Um, like I just had to get a passport for my son, and
Mm-hmm.
they made me re-sign it the way I signed it initially, which is good because it wasn't my go-to signature.
Okay.
And so they're like, here, they like showed me his old passport and like sign it this way. I'm like, oh, good, thanks for like reminding me. But yeah, so certain things
Well,
are usually much more strict on their signatures.
right.
In this case, I think any kind of scribble works as long as it's consistent. But yeah, no, great job getting that missing signature field. Overall, I think you get the gist of this.
Yeah.
Are there any ones that you like similar where you were kind of on the fence about it?
Okay, so I would be the last one. Did I do that right? I saw it as not necessary, so non-TMF document, because it's just a W-9.
Yeah,
But it could have also been there were some financial definitions or classifications in the reference model. I don't know.
yeah. Let's take a look. Let's see. Sometimes I do think it is in here. I know there is like a financial. But I agree with you. Double 89. Yes, doesn't come up. Let's see. We just search tax.
Just because it wasn't in the financial ones, they were referring to like invoices and receipts.
Yeah, yeah. Usually it's more of that source, and I agree with you. That might be. Actually, let me look at the key and let's see what
Yeah,
the key says.
yeah.
Let's see. W9. Yeah, it just said the key just said inspection ready, but then again, we just made the key. I agree with you that I'm not too sure that that would really. Oh no, you're right. Here it is. Yeah, non-TMF document. Depending on company's SOP, financial information may not considered TMF. So yeah, you were correct.
Okay.
Yeah, non-TMF document. But yeah, but and you did a great job of searching the TMF reference model and seeing what they say in terms of that. All right, no second page. This is the lab accreditation. We can check this guy. Was it in the main folder? Let's see.
It probably was in this one, not a main.
Okay. Um,
Was that USA site accreditation with the
yeah,
yellow bar?
yeah. Let's see.
Or
What's this? Let's see. Let me go back to yours.
so it, oh yeah.
U.S. site accreditation.
So that would have there was another one
Okay. Yeah, I think there's this one says cola.
that was right below that.
Oh, this guy.
So
Okay.
on the reference model, they always had this and then a second page that said stuff. So I think I intentionally did that too to ask you, should that
Yeah.
second page always be there?
And the answer is no. If it said one out of two, then that
Mm-hmm.
second page should be there. But this is good enough. This is a Kappa.
Okay. Okay. It had like more definitions of what they were qualified to do
To do. Okay.
on the second page. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
good.
No,
Good to
that's a
know.
great question. I think, and again, it's like as you get to a company and a company is using a certain lab, you'll get familiar with their lab documentation. And if there's always a second page and then it's all of a sudden you don't have a second page, that
Okay.
it's still a valid flag, if that's what you normally see.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall, I feel like you got the gist of what you were looking at. Any other ones that you
I
thought?
don't remember. I know there was one other I was unsure about, but I honestly forgot what it was.
This one that has no logo, we can take a look at that one. In general, that wouldn't be a big issue. Missing date, we can take a
Okay.
look. But I, like you've done when you start your job, you kind of want to do this. You want to overflag, and then you get a sense of what the company wants, because it's a lot easier to flag something, and then the person who's kind of training you says, "Oh no, we don't actually need that." Blah blah blah. And then you write it down, and ideally you don't flag it again if once they tell you what their standards are,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot bigger issue if you don't catch something, right?
Okay.
Because it is these are important things in the sense of that you want your TMF to be clean so that your TMF can then be ready for an inspection. So if there are issues, you want to resolve it versus like an inspection or an audit catching it, right?
Right.
So it's much better to overflag. So you did a great job on that. Let's look
Cool.
at the IRB. But yeah, overall, I'm really impressed with your. Usually it takes people like a couple rounds to kind of figure out what we're doing.
Oh.
And that was another thing. We're like, maybe we should like do a whole training on it, and because the last couple people who sometimes you do it and it's just like people just don't know where to start. Um, but you did a great job filling it
So
out.
when
Okay,
you click
so
on the link for the template,
uh-huh.
it has stuff filled in.
I know. That's what Zane said,
So
or that's what, yeah, cleared
I
it.
just used the first one as a reference, like the
Yeah,
first little line, so I knew, okay, what are they referring to as artifact name? Like reverse engineer that.
yeah.
But
No,
but if you're having that issue, maybe that would help
I think that's a
with
great
other
idea.
people.
Let's
Yeah.
definitely have an example line. Okay, I'm actually gonna write that down. We'll have an example line, but I need to clear the template because that's why I was
Oh,
like, when I built it, I was like, I know I
that
was like,
wasn't a
okay,
complaint. It was just
yeah,
a, I
no,
don't know
no,
if that was intentional.
yeah, it was not intentional. And that's why I was like, it's also sometimes one of those things where it's like a test where you're like, okay, here are the steps. Can you follow the steps? And like the steps for like make your own copy.
Yeah.
But no, you did a great job. Okay, maybe it's this one, the IRB. Let's see this one. Okay, so let's pull up yours again. IRB conditional approval, and you said missing date, no logo name, did not include sponsor name, signature's not original. Okay, let's take a look.
So yeah, again, on the reference guide, it says it should have all of these things. Like for instance, in the body right here under IRB action colon, it
Hmm.
said it should reference the sponsor name. It said it should have a logo on every page and contact info or something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I think you usually would see that. Each IRB can kind of do their own thing, right? So it's each
Hmm.
so that again, like the example documents are going to have more of a description. And
Yeah,
so
and that's
um
great. That's
yeah.
great. I can
No,
see how I'll
yeah.
tone things down accordingly,
Yeah.
which is
No, but I
fine.
I do think that when you start your first day, you should do something similar to the level you're doing. But based off of their, like, they'll give you training and their own training, and they'll have their own SOPs which kind of describe, here are our rules we follow. And then you can even mention to the person, hey, I'm gonna like kind of overflag things so I can get to know your thoughts on things.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might even want to do like a second column of like, here are my questions.
Okay.
And then that way you could be like, that's how I would do it. If I was starting fresh and I didn't know at 100%, I would like, to the right of the QC findings, you'd be like, maybe QC findings, and then you could put questions in there.
That's good. I like that. That's good
Yeah, and that
feedback.
way you're like, I know that I'm not like trying to create more work for you, but this is what, here are my thoughts, right? Definitely a great approach to um starting your stuff. But yeah, no, overall I think you did a great job. So if you are fine with this and you think you kind of enjoy the work, I think we should get ready to start applying you to things.
Yeah, absolutely. I redid, like I sent the link. I don't know if you looked, I don't really
Hmm.
care if you looked, to my resume that I used for the ultragenics with
Hmm.
Alicia's, but I redid some of that to use some of the verbiage in the other company.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So I will definitely review it this weekend, and I think we start sending stuff out on Monday if that works.
Great, great.
Okay. So I'll be working on the job charts, and then we'll create a list for you. And then the first column is where you put like if you're interested and if you've applied, so that we can kind of keep track of which ones you apply to.
Okay.
And then as you start to hear back from things, like let us know immediately, so then we can start to prep you for interviews, and we can even
Okay.
do interview prep kind of proactively if you want to.
That's great. And that's a weak area of mine because all my jobs have really come from knowing somebody or like knocking on a door and
Yeah.
showing up and saying, "Hey, what do you do?" Like that's how I got my first financial planning job, was just like knocking on a door, getting a phone number of a recruiter, and
Okay.
then, that
And
type of thing.
then let's plan on maybe Monday doing some interview prep. I do think interview prep is really, really important because a lot of people do get nervous, or or kind of just aren't that experienced in it. And so I think that preparing and going through questions and getting yourself really comfortable is really important. So
Okay.
let's plan on that for Monday. Okay, so maybe shoot me over some times on Monday that work for you. Okay.
Right. And that email will be anytime that works for you
Okay.
because I'm just making this a priority. I
Okay.
love
Yeah.
the trading, but it's very unstable. Anyway,
Yeah. No,
long story short.
it's pretty crazy right now. Anyways,
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
2 months have been insane. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
That sounds
Thank you
good.
so much, Phil.
Of course.